Good afternoon. Like we outlined yesterday in Baltimore, it's a big AFC North road win for us. And in reviewing the tape, a couple elements of the performance were significant. And it's rewarding because we knew that they would be significant before the game, but also because we had failed in some of these areas in game one against Baltimore, specifically third down offense. In game one, we had talked about last time leading up to the game that we were very ineffective in the second half, and really it just spoke to Baltimore's defensive dominance. And I thought our guys did a nice job of responding to that challenge and winning possession downs and thus controlling the ball, time of possession, which allowed us to, in a lot of ways, control the game. So that was a big part of it. Obviously, the running of the football allowed some of those possession downs to be manageable ones. That was a significant element of play, our ability to run the football. And on the other side, I thought largely we got off on possession downs, and when we didn't, we got off when the field was short. Holding them to field goals in the red zone was big, one of the top red zone offenses in the league. To hold them to field goals there, particularly those two red zone trips in the first half, I thought was significant in terms of the game unfolding in the manner in which it unfolded. We got a lot of significant contributions from a lot of people. Some of it's been outlined, Matt Filer being one, Josh Dobbs being another. But I think those things are revealed as you go through the journey. And I think that's what makes football the ultimate team game. You're going to be presented with challenges. There are going to be people available or less than available. And we're going to need all of these guys to walk this journey. And a lot of guys displayed that with their contributions and stepping up. And it's just going to continue. The opportunities to rise up and be positive contributors to our efforts are going to be continually presented to men, and that's why we're going to continually make an emphasis on the point of overall readiness and improvement and growth in terms of knowledge, technique, and understanding for everybody. And that's probably been one of the significant reasons why we've been able to find rhythm in recent weeks. And so, we turn our attentions now to this week's challenge. It's a short week, and not only is it a short week, it's a formidable opponent. So I won't waste any further time. From an injury standpoint, not a lot of information as we sit here. First, let me say it's not a lot of significant injuries. If they were, we would have clarity. But there are bumps and bruises associated with play. James Washington got his knee banged. It's being looked at. Daniel McCullers an ankle. Ryan Switzer an ankle. Of course, Ben got the wind knocked out of him in game. All of those and others will be continued to be monitored. It may affect practice availability in some form or fashion. It may not. I'm just giving you a list of potential things. It's just we hadn't had our feet on the ground long enough to give you any real information, so I wouldn't read too much into that. What you should read into is practice participation. That's always our guide in terms of availability, and it will be, particularly on a week that's as short as this one. In regards to Carolina, I'll start on the defensive side of the ball. Man, it's a challenging group. They're a fundamentalist group. They're a small menu. They play fast. They play physical. It's big understanding for them. They got continuity. And when you're talking about continuity, man, you're talking about 59 and 58 at the linebacker level. Man, I spent the large majority of last night, man, studying those guys. And, that's as formidable a tandem at the linebacker position in the 4-3 scheme since Urlacher and Briggs in the mid-2000s, in my opinion. Just to look at the totality of their work over the course of their careers and just look how they're playing here in 2018. Got a lot of respect for Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis. They're quality players at all levels. They're both very good against the run. They're both very good in coverage, be it zone or man coverage. Both are very good blitzers. They're traffic cops. They're aware. They get others lined up. Man, it's special. I don't spend a lot of time focusing on those guys because they're an NFC team, but to prepare for them and watch those two guys work and really contemplate the totality of their careers individually and collectively, I thought it was appropriate to start there. They got talented people in their front. They're a 4-3 group. Addison leads them. I think he's got 7.5, but you better not talk about a Carolina front without talking about Julius Peppers. That guy is Carolina in a lot of ways in terms of the things that he's been able to do in his career, numbers that he's been able to put up. He's got a couple sacks for him, but boy, he's he's more impactful than just the sack numbers would indicate. He's long, man. He's disruptive. He's aware. I think he batted down 2 possession down passes last week, and that seems like nothing. But those are, if a DB did that, you'd be talking about what a quality game he had. So we better be prepared to deal with a myriad of rushmen. And usually you get that when you play a 4-3 team. Guys like KK Short, they've acquired Poe on the inside, Love on the inside. Some of the outside guys I've mentioned going to create real issues for us. And they got some new guys in the secondary that are really giving them a jolt. Jackson, a young corner out of LSU, looked at him at his pro day. He's very talented, ball guy, both quick and fast, making a lot of plays for him. And at the safety spot, they've been on the tear collectively since they acquired Eric Reed, and he's been an active participant in that, getting turnovers and so forth at the free safety position. On the offensive side, it's easy to start with Cam Newton, and yeah, you should start with Cam Newton because he can run it, he can throw it, he's strong, he can make all the throws, accuracy from a distance standpoint as well. But I really think what's going on with him is just looking at the infusion of roles between what he and McCaffrey are able to do. You're talking about 2 multi-talented players, multi-dimensional players, man, that are really performing very well together. McCaffrey's playing more snaps, I think, probably than any offensive player in football. He leads them in receptions. He's a rushing threat, obviously, as is Cam Newton. The way that those 2 guys operate and the things that Norv Turner is able to do with those 2 guys is really creating issues for the opponents, and particularly of late. You couple that with some of the unique skills of some of the other guys. Funches is 6'5", 6'6", and creates matchup issues on the outside. Olsen, 6'5", 6'6", vertical threat tight end, has been that for over a decade. Guys like Chris Samuels, who are hybrid slot and running back like people. Really a Percy Harvin-like athlete in terms of his ability to run jet sweeps and also run routes. They got a well-rounded group. They may get Torrey Smith back. And obviously in the AFC North, we're familiar with the career exploits of Torrey Smith and how he's able to stretch the field vertically. So, that's just an outline of some of the things that we're focused on as we're starting this preparation process. We're going to use all the time at our disposal. We better. Working on a short week, playing a group like this. But this is what you sign up for, the challenges that the National Football League presents. Week in and week out, formidable opponents, short weeks, et cetera. We'll do the best that we can to prepare and stay singularly focused and put our best foot forward on Thursday night in Hines for our fans. Questions?
What's the biggest challenge short week? Is it not having the on-field practices that you usually have? I assume you get to everything you normally get to doing the game plan, right?
You get to it, but the depths in which you get to it is debatable. And so I think, having a perspective of dealing with it for a number of years, I think the things that you choose to push to the front of the line, if time is limited, where do you allocate your time, not only from a time spent with players, but I'm talking about staff time. The allocation of time and focus, I think, is the critical element of short week prep.
Is it better then to have this game a little bit later in the year?
I don't care. I really don't care. I got no control over the schedule. You guys know me. I don't care. As long as it's a short week for the opponent, it's fair.
Mike, you mentioned the depth at the beginning. Is this where you really count on them as well? Do you try to limit guys because of the short time in between, or do you just go as if it's a normal?
We're going to go and play to win this game. We need to be singularly focused on the task at hand, this week's challenge, the one that's in front of us, and that's the way we always live. I think you sell yourself short if you take any other approach. We better be focused on winning this game and whatever is required to do so.
When you look at Cam Newton's productiveness right now, his efficiency, it's matching what he did his MVP year. Why is he so effective right now?
Again, I just mentioned it. It's the developing relationship and the utilization of McCaffrey under the leadership of Norv Turner. I mean, to me, it's obvious. You're talking about 2 multi-dimensional players working under an experienced coordinator who has done it in a variety of ways over an extended period of time at a high level in this league. So none of that surprising to me. It doesn't make it any easier to stop, I'm just acknowledging that the ingredients that are producing what we're looking at is not surprising.
About a month and a half ago, you said you would rotate Cody and Artie until one of them created separation between the two. Has Cody established that?
You tell me, based on usage.
Was Artie week 9 healthy the other day?
He was.
Mike, you talked about dividing the season into quarters. First quarter obviously wasn't that great. Second quarter, you win all 4 games. What areas did you feel you guys made the biggest strides in that second 4 weeks?
I'm not trying to look for specific areas. I just challenge these guys to get better every day. And that's what I outlined for you guys. Getting better in terms of skills relative to our position, getting better in terms of knowledge of the game, getting better in terms of understanding within situations presented in the game. I know I probably said that the last time you asked it, but because I mean it, because that's what we're focused on. I think if we do that daily, that'll give us a chance to produce consistent performances that are on the rise, not only in the second quarter, but as we continue through this journey.
Mike, you mentioned Dobbs and Filer being 2 guys, when called upon, delivered. How important has it been, especially for Filer, that he's delivered in the way that he has, that you're able to run the ball and protect the passer with him at right tackle?
It's critical. It's how we're built. It's what we expect. And he is just the latest example of a guy that's meeting that expectation like we've talked about. He's capable. So, you know, it's understandable to expect those type of performances from him. I know that he expects it from himself, and he's glad to be a part of the reason why we're successful.
Like in the 2 months since we saw Dobbs seize the backup quarterback's job, what have you seen in practices as far as growth goes that he matured to the point that he could make a throw and call upon like that?
More than anything, he comes in here every day with the mentality that I talked about in terms of trying to get better. He's got a unique opportunity in that he backs up a seasoned veteran like Ben, which provides maybe some more opportunities to get first-team reps. I like the spirit in which he approaches those days. Wednesdays, regular season Wednesdays being one of them. He gets a significant number of first-team reps on Wednesdays. Some Wednesdays are better than others in terms of results, but I like his mentality every Wednesday, and I think that mentality has continually put him in a position to be viewed in the ways that he's viewed and to deliver in some of the ways that he's delivered.
James Conner was asked yesterday about his physical style and his usage, and he said, I'm built for this. As his leader, how do you assess where he is right now, how he's being used?
I agree with him.
You have no concerns whatsoever about where I'm.
I agree with him.
Mike, what was the catalyst for the LJ Ford sub-package role?
What do you mean?
What got you guys to using him more in that?
You know, it's just evolved over the course of the journey. We're looking at, you know, the components available to us, the men and their skill sets and what they're being asked to do and what their capabilities are. It's just been revealed to us over the course of time. It's still very much a work in progress. All of those sub-package roles, you know, that's today's NFL, man. Multiple sub-packages and personnel groups and matchups and so forth. And he's helped us in some recent games with some things that he's able to do.
Along those lines, you've been a sub-package 87% of the time yesterday, which is a lot even for you guys. Is part of that game circumstance? Are you guys playing it more? Or is it team circumstance?
It's a myriad of things. Sometimes it's down and distance or game circumstances. Sometimes it's the mentality or the position of the opponent in terms of time left to go in the game and their mentality. And sometimes it's, you know, offensive personnel group. You know, Baltimore likes the 3 receivers that they went out and acquired, and those guys were on the field quite a bit of the time, and we better match that talent. And so usually it's a combination of those things.
Because of the way the game is played now with the pass, are you seeing more teams with maybe the cover 2 or trying to really take away the deep pass? You seen any more of that?
You know, I don't know about any more of it in terms of just too deep, but you're definitely seeing more packages with more than 4 defensive backs on the field on a regular, to your point. You know, sub is base in today's NFL.
Have you been able to limit some of your deep plays that you've allowed over the first half of the season compared to the second half?
We're just growing. We're growing every day. It's the same discussion. Guys are getting better technically. They're growing in terms of knowledge. They're growing in terms of situational understanding. And when you do those things, you make plays and you minimize negativity. And those 2 things happen at the same time. And so hopefully we've made a few plays, and hopefully we've prevented a few plays with that approach. And I know our approach to preparedness is going to continue in that regard.
That cohesion of talent you talked about with Cam Newton and McCaffrey, what has that brought out of Cam since maybe the last time you guys played against him?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. We don't play him enough for me to, have that perspective. I hadn't even gotten to the point where I've delved back and looked at the game that we played him 4 years ago. It's been so much that's transpired. Coaches, the system in which he plays in, supporting cast, that's probably going to be irrelevant, to be honest with you. I won't be able to draw those comparisons.
Mike, you were very effective dealing with Lamar Jackson. Did they do anything differently with him yesterday, or pretty much the same thing you had seen on tape?
No, they did different things. I think every week that package morphs in some form or fashion, and we knew that, respectfully. We knew that the things that you look at on tape with Lamar Jackson might not be the things that you play against. That was the case yesterday in some instances, and that's what makes preparing for them and him and playing them so challenging.
Speaking of that, how much of you've watched tape of Cam Newton's runs are designed runs, and how much of it just ad-lib?
He's doing both. He's running the ball by design a lot. His rushing numbers indicate that. His touchdown numbers indicate that. He's always been particularly a red zone rushing threat in terms of design runs. But he's Cam Newton, man. There are no comparisons in terms of his unique abilities as a runner and passer.
When you're a guy like Stephon Tuitt, who's had sacks in the last several games, how much does that effectiveness in the pass rush help as well as his ability to contain a guy like Newton on the outside?
That production might be born out of game circumstances. So, it's 6 or half a dozen. I just know that Stephon's playing well, and we need guys to play well. We need guys up front to play well, particularly in our natural four-man rush schemes when you're talking about a guy that's uniquely talented like Cam. Man, you better keep him in the pocket if you can. And, you're going to need quality efforts from guys like Stephon.
What are some of the keys and why the offensive line is working as it is right now?
Those guys have been together for a long time. They're quality players. They got continuity in terms of coaching. Munch has been with them for a number of years. I think that, that's very tangible reasons why things have developed for them. And it creates an environment where young guys can ascend and grow and get better. We've talked about Matt Filer. We've talked about B.J. Finney in the past and Villanueva and others, man. When you got good guys that are professional and work at it, you got a coach that does the same things, and you put them in an environment. It's an environment that's conducive to growth, individually and collectively.
You mentioned growth several times today. Could you talk about how your front seven and your secondary are really starting to gel as a cohesive unit?
Again, I know I sound like a broken record, but we're not doing anything unique. We're just coming to work every day. We're trying to eliminate problems before they happen. And when that doesn't happen, try to eliminate them quickly after they present themselves. And the only way you do that is you keep getting better from skill development, keep getting better in terms of knowledge of the game, and keep getting better in terms of understanding of the unwritten rules of the game situationally. How the game is played differently at 3rd and 4 than it is at 1st and 10, for example. And that's happening for many of our guys, and it needs to.
At the start of the season, we talked so much about the attention that Antonio Brown always gets. Over the course of the last few weeks, as your run game has firmly established itself, have you seen defenses change at all, or defenses giving any more attention
Not
to
at all.
Connor?
No, they're going to stop AB. They're going to work hard to stop AB. Everybody knows what AB is and what he's capable of, and I'm sure we'll see similar things on Thursday night.
The game announcers referenced a conversation with you saying that Terrell Edmonds is playing too much and I'm easing Morgan Burnett back in. Could you kind of talk about your conversation with them and what you meant?
Edmonds has done a nice job, but the totality of his play largely has been because of the lack of availability of Morgan. And as Morgan gains his footing from a health standpoint, I'm interested in playing both guys. A lot of exposure to young guys isn't always good for their growth and development because with exposure comes negativity. Edmonds has done a nice job, but I'm not going to forget why he's in the lineup down in and down out. It's because Morgan has been hurt. And as Morgan gets healthy, I'm open to infusing him back into the lineup and watching those guys compete and letting both guys play and hopefully getting productive play out of the position. That's my mentality, but that's no secret.
I know Both teams have to prepare for a short week, but do you believe that 3 days is enough for an NFL body to heal up?
I have no opinion. I really don't. I didn't make the schedule. I'll be there on Thursday night, as will the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Given that it's relative, when you play teams whose coaches are on the proverbial hot seat, how do you see that reflected on the field?
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. It's not on my agenda, to be quite honest, which is not my issue.
Is Gilbert going to work tomorrow?
I don't know. We'll see where it goes tomorrow. I'm open to it. I know he's open to it.
Is there more difficulty with a crammed schedule and a team you're unfamiliar with, opposed to, say, if you were playing Baltimore, Cleveland, or Cincinnati this Thursday?
It's really irrelevant in that if we're unfamiliar with them, they're probably largely unfamiliar with us. And by the same token, if we've got intimate familiarity with them, and then it's probably the same on the other side. So from those standpoints, it's fair.
Anything else? All right.
Thank you, guys.